In China, there are some 7,000 bears incarcerated in cages so small they can hardly move in farms across the country, approximately 68 according to the official number from the Chinese government. Tiger farms, it's been a long time since I've been onto tiger farms, although I did investigate one up in Heilongjiang many years ago, but equally grim conditions for the tigers as well as the bears. They're very often inbred. You can see the tigers, with some of them with enormous heads, with severe arthritis, clicking limbs from being badly inbred. And in the bear farms especially, there's something we do know a little about. Visited over 50 bear farms across China and have never been anything less than appalled with the industry. They have scars running the entire length of their bodies from where they're incarcerated in cages so small they can hardly move. And indeed, many of the bears exhibit something called stress dwarfism, where they have normal bear-sized heads, but their bodies are extremely dwarf-like because they've been contained in these cages literally for decades. Many of the bears are deliberately detoothed by the farmers. They've had all 4 canine teeth cut back to gum level, exposing pulp and nerves. They've been had their paw tips slashed away to prevent the claws from growing, so as to take away the defences of these bears and make them. The most worrying thing, of course, is when you look at their abdomens and you see either catheters some 7 inches in length protruding from their abdomens and their gallbladders, from which their bile is milked, or they have what we call free drip fistulas, which is the new method of bile extraction, which is carving a hole into the gallbladder and into the abdomen so that bile drips out. And anyone with any slight medical knowledge will know that bile acid is very invasive and ultimately causes peritonitis and an agonising death in these bears. I've not ever seen one bear farm that would ever conform to the 5 freedoms of animal welfare in China. And there's some very exciting research now being carried out by the Hong Kong University, for example, by Dr. Feng Yibin, who is analysing the herb Coptis, which he believes so far is potentially better than bear bile for treating liver-related disease. And of course, as Li Xinhuan has just been emphasising, there are so many herbal alternatives to the use of animals in traditional Chinese medicine, notably with bear bile, some 54 herbal alternatives, and of course there are other synthetic alternatives in them as well, which are being used and created across the world. Here in the USA, for example, Minnesota University have analysed bear bile and found synthetic alternatives, again, achieving the alternatives just as responsibly. The majority of our bears are dying of liver cancer when they've just arrived from the farms, so when they, from any age, from 2 years old to 20 years of age. The liver cancers, we believe, are coming about as a result of the contaminated bile within the gallbladders. We are finding bile containing pus and blood and faeces and urine and cancer cells. And we now think that there's a tumour factor between the contaminated bile and the liver cancer. And these cancers can be ranging from anything from 2 kilograms to 7 kilograms in weight within the bear's abdomens, sometimes some 10% of their body weight. So there is a huge concern, obviously, with what is this, if the liver cancers are killing the bears from the contaminated bile, what is this same contaminated bile doing to the consumers that take it in traditional Chinese medicine? Animals Asia have obviously been working for many years out in the field in public education programs, predominantly in China, of course. And we have good relationships with traditional Chinese medicine universities where we present our findings about the bear farming industry. We have a lot of universities where the students very passionately engage in spreading the word about the practice of bear farming. We of course work intensively with the media, we work with celebrities, again engaging the general public. We have an education facility in our bear rescue sanctuary in Chengdu in Sichuan province, where thousands of people come every year to learn about how they can protect bears for their own sake rather than how they can benefit humankind. So, and of course we work with the Chinese government as well. So there's a big groundswell of support to ending bear farming, but unfortunately it's not yet enough to have made the practice illegal. to have engaged the general public and people like traditional Chinese medicine doctors, academics, the media, celebrities, universities, for example, to work with us towards ending a horrific practice which should have been relegated to the history books many, many years ago. Bear farming is as I said before, is an unnecessary industry. It has no place in a modern, developing, civilized world, and it can so easily be replaced by herbs and synthetics. So the challenges and the successes that we've seen, I think, have been sort of part of a bigger picture where more and more people now are engaging and helping us in ending bear farming.